Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty
Good.
good.
Good, good, good. It's good to see you.
Good seeing you.
Right on, right on. So I am Logan Crow. I am the executive director of the Frida Cinema, and with us today are Craig Duffy and Becca'Lise Deveaux. For this cinematic life, I don't know what happened. I've known you long enough to get your name right. Um, Say hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Well, we're hanging in there
Yeah.
as best we can.
Yeah. Holding up.
Yes,
Yeah,
trying to.
much as you can with a 4-year-old.
Yeah. And the 4-year-old is sort of what inspired our chat today. What we were talking about was that, for one thing, I've known you two for a very long time. Craig, I've known going on 10 years from way back in the Mondo Celluloid days.
Yeah, because I started doing the Mondo photos like the February before she and I got married, and we had our 10-year last year, so coming up on 11 years. So yeah.
I can hear feedback. Is that coming from my end or yours? Let me see. Let me see what happens if I do this. Yeah, okay, good. So that must have been on my end. Yes, correct. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, way back in the day, we had I had started a blog called Mondo Celluloid that became a website that was kind of a cult cinema site, and the idea of it was that we would help promote theaters in Los Angeles that in one location, so that we're doing cult and repertory films. So the New Beverly, the New Art, the American Cinematheque, and that led to me starting my own series of programs, first at the Vista Theater, and then at the Art Theater of Long Beach, everything leading up to what would eventually become the Frida Cinema. And Craig was one of the very, very first Mondo Celluloid fans, as it were, who first on the blog, then coming to the events. And so we have talked for a long, long time about doing something like this and partnering. What led to this was the beautiful Lola, their wonderful daughter, us catching up on obviously where we all are right now, which is at home, sort of with life sort of transitioning, and talking to Giselle, my sister, and a board member. We were all catching up, and this is actually her idea. She said, it'd be great if everyone got together and somehow talked about movies with Lola, which then inspired the idea of bringing you on to talk about 10 films you can watch with the whole family. So we'll each be sharing lists, but first talk to us a little bit about your project, this cinematic life, and just your what you have contributed and how you celebrate film across various formats with your website, with your events at your home, with your books that you've written. These are two people who love movies. Perfect couple as far as I'm concerned in that regard. Talk to us about that.
Well, I can talk a little bit about the blog. It's a little bit defunct because it's hard to find time with, a little one. But yeah,
I posted something.
He did. He wrote.
This past week was the first post in like a year.
Yeah, but it was just something for fun for us to do. We both like to write and have written, so we started a blog where we review movies or do movie lists, talk about movies, and then we also have a monthly film club with our friends. It's monthly, pick a theme, watch and discuss. It's a lot of fun. Just getting everybody under one roof and watching something interesting.
Yeah, we actually had to. We were supposed to have our March meeting the weekend. Everything went quarantine-y, so that
we miss everybody.
Yeah, we miss all of our regular monthly friends. But yeah, we still are somewhat active. We have the Instagram account. We post there. We posted about this and stuff, or usually Frida related stuff, or that a celebrity died. Yeah, somebody called us out on that all of our Instagram content is just of deceased celebrities.
It's hard. finding time to do things when you work full time and have a child. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the movie stuff is a little bit on the back burner, but someday, maybe now that she's getting older, doesn't need us to hover so much, we can get back into it.
Yeah, I've been taking like her nap times, Lola's nap times, as an opportunity to try writing some more. Speaking of writing, I have two self-published books of it's essentially just blog posts. Well, the first one's entirely just blog posts condensed and kind of ordered around theme. And then the second one was I wrote a long piece about the Best Picture nominees of 2008. Well, the films were from 2007, but the Oscars took place in 2008. And I noticed kind of a theme running amongst those films. And so I wrote like a 10-page piece, and I'm like, it's longer than a blog post, but and so I just threw in, some other blog posts and a few new pieces. And so that's the second book, Crate Digging. And
Can you hold your books up right up to the camera so everyone can get a really good look? Don't be ashamed. Just self-plug right there.
Both of the gorgeous covers are by our artist friend Sapira. She's really awesome and does these cool like ink on like semi-translucent like plastic, and she did the covers for both books, which is really awesome. One of the first times we ever took Lola out after we got her was to one of Sapira's art shows in downtown Santa Ana.
And one of the things that we've talked about was that I was really inspired by the fact that you took your passion for film and wrote books, and I think that a lot of folks, myself included, have been inspired to do that here and there. But I'll speak for myself. I sort of assume that it's going to be an overly complicated process. Gosh, how many pages should I write? Is there a minimum? Is there a maximum? What is the format? Are there copyright issues? Can I write the title Blue Velvet and write about Blue Velvet? I'm allowed to do that. Do I go print or do I just go online? All of these things. Can you talk a little bit about your journey, what research you did, and what ultimately the decisions you made to get this going for yourself?
Well, I had written a lot on the blog, and it was just there on the blog. I'm like, I bet you if you put it into a Word document, it would be long, like probably a book length, and might be. It looks more. I don't know. And then I was going to do an ebook, and then my friend Kevin Stanek, who runs the 1888 Center here in Orange, and he also works. He runs the art gallery at the Great Park over in Irvine. He's like, don't you want, something on your shelf? And I'm like, yeah, but like, that's, expensive and things like that. And he turned me on to Create Space, which is now like Kindle, enveloped it. But yeah, they're print to order. So I don't have like a box somewhere of unsold books or whatever, whenever somebody orders it on Amazon, they just print it up and ship it off to them right then and there. So, and then I get my cut, and everybody's happy. So, that's just what I did. The first one's all text. The second one, I threw in some photos, but they're photos that I took, so I didn't have to worry about any sort of copyright issue. And like I said, cover's designed by a friend of mine. So, yeah. Like a summer. Like I did the first one over the course of that was kind of my paternity project when we adopted Lola. When the first summer, I took 6 weeks of paternity leave, and then so during her naps and stuff, I was putting that together. And then the second one, just during her nap times as well.
A lot happens at nap time.
you got to get lots done at nap time.
Very, very cool. So, and talk to us a little bit about your film nights. Walloon Film Club, obviously, I think that most of the viewers are friends and family. So obviously, don't give your home address out or anything, but that's sort of like the curation of how you choose the films. I love that you do a vote, things like that, and a little bit about sort of the vibe that you create every month at your home.
Well, the film club, gosh, how many years has it been now?
She's like 3.
I don't remember. But yeah, we just thought it'd be fun to have, we have movie nights. Every night is movie night at our house. And our friends are always welcome to come watch, but we thought it'd be fun to do something more organized and discussion based, even though sometimes we're like, it was good, right? Right? Okay, what are we watching next month? But yeah, we usually have a bunch of themes we can sort of throw out. So we've done anything from like, we do like LGBTQ night. We do.
We did camp in summer because it was summer camp.
Yeah, we've done Black History Month themed. We've done, close to Easter, we've done religious movies. So just like, and everyone is welcome to throw an idea out and whatever sticks. We did a few director series where we did, Hitchcock,
or we watched
Varda,
the Cahiers du Cinema top 10.
Yeah, we did Cahiers du Cinema's top 10. Worked our way through that. Because it's been going for a few years now. And yeah, it's just, bring a friend if you want. And sometimes we don't have too many people. Sometimes there's not enough seating. People are sitting on the floor and up against the door. But it's really fun. I miss it a lot. Got used to seeing some of the same faces every month. Yeah, Lola tries to stay up with us now. She watched half of the 2 Popes.
Yes.
She's but yeah, there's not much beyond just, it's really casual. I don't shush people who, side chatter is not necessarily frowned upon. But yeah, it's really casual and kick back. And once a year we do like a short film festival where, people we throw up a short film on the Chromecast if they want or bring something. We'll just watch a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, we try to have themes and stuff that we work through and stuff that comes back again. It's just fun. It's fun seeing stuff that I saw a lot of movies that I haven't seen before. People like throw up the trailer and like, what's that? That looks interesting. And just very community.
The March's theme was supposed to be March Madness. We were supposed to do films about insanity. And
then the world went crazy.
Yeah, the world went crazy. Yeah.
So,
no doubt. Would you say that most folks that come over to these nights have never seen the films that you're presenting, or is it kind of a mix of diehard fans and people who've never seen them?
Some people make a point of voting for ones they've never seen, which we try to encourage. Like, for example, when we did Hitchcock night, we didn't even put up to vote like Psycho, Vertigo. Well, we had just watched Vertigo recently for the top 10 Cahiers du Cinema, but we tried to a lot of what we put up for a vote is stuff that we have access to. So his collection
behind us,
our movies, or something that's streaming. We try to go for more underrated or lesser seen ones, to nudge people out of their comfort zones a little bit. Like there's some that we've all seen, and those can be fun.
Like summertime ones, try to maybe do.
Yeah, we've done. But yeah, we try to mix it up so people aren't just like watching the same movie for the 10th time. And yeah, some of them get really good discussions going. I remember we did Ex Machina. We did a sci-fi one, and we ended up watching Ex Machina. And the discussion for that one was really interesting and went in a lot of interesting places. So it's fun way to. And I mean, for us too, it was a way of like, we can't leave the house very easily anymore. No.
So we bring the people.
So we're like, please come to our house and watch movies with us after she goes to bed. So it's a good way to get people over.
Well, right on. Okay, so one of the things, again, that we had been talking about was, obviously there's been a lot of transition and change lately. We are not very often advocates of pushing people towards streaming. But obviously right now we want people to keep watching movies. I mean, it's the art form that we love. I am a huge film lover. I watch films at home all the time. I've been watching films all my life, you as well. And it's been pretty incredible to see the Arthouse community really quickly get together and come up with an avenue to allow for art houses to continue to share new content, but in a streaming platform. And I've been very vocal about how grateful I am that the art houses have put this together, because it would have been the easiest thing in the world for a lot of these distributors to do what the major distributors are doing and just take all their content and push them out on Amazon and then have access to an entire world's worth of audiences to stream those movies and watch them. Instead, they strategically partnered with individual art houses and created this technology where the art house has a link that's on their website, and it's a very dedicated, specific link, and a rental to the film benefits that art house. So right now we have 18 films that are streaming, or actually just 16 films. We've got another 7 coming out next Friday. It's a pretty incredible thing. So we're extremely grateful. And I'm sorry, have you seen a couple?
Yeah.
Yes.
I watched Wild Goose Lake.
Okay.
And together with Lola, we watched Fantastic Fungi.
All right. What do you think of Fantastic Fungi?
It was interesting and hard to sort of explain what was going on during a trip with Lola. She's like, "What are they doing?" I'm like, "They took some medicine." And she's like, "Why are they crying?" I'm like, "They're having a special."
Yeah, which is to say, the whole movie's not about that, but there's certainly a period in this third act that the movie's very much about psychedelics and goes in that direction for a while. But that's just as I think as incredible as the rest of the film. But the first 2/3 are really just about the incredible nature of the mushroom itself. I mean, I learned a lot from the documentary. I was fascinated by it. And I really felt that it contextualized this idea that when we die, we return to the earth in a way that I've never seen any work of art sort of do. So I appreciated that quite a bit. This idea that we come up from the earth and then we're eventually consumed by mushrooms and then just become, it was just fantastic. But on that same note of streaming, we do have, I got Laura Vasquez. Hi, Laura. Laura's on the YouTube. By the way, everyone, feel free to chat on YouTube. We read all your chats. I understand that there's an echo. I apologize for that. I've been trying to sort of tinker and figure out where that's coming from. Not sure, but bear with us. I know there's a little bit of an echo. But hello, everyone. We see everyone. Thanks for writing. But yes, on this conversation of streaming, what we're going to talk about today are you've put together 10 films that you consider good for the whole family, as have I. So we're going to share them. But first, we're going to talk about quite a lot of platforms that these films are available on. All of mine are are available on streaming platforms. Same with yours. You've got a few that are rentable. But just really quickly, because this comes up a lot, and folks, I just figured I would share this with everyone in case anyone's wondering what these things cost and what's out there. So you've got Netflix. Netflix is $8.99 a month to watch it on one screen and in standard viewing. They have a $12.99 a month program that allows for 2 people to be logged in at the same time and HD videos. And they have a $15.99 per month that allows for 4 screens to watch at the same time. And that's the only tier that offers 4K viewing. So that's Netflix. You've got Amazon, of course. Amazon Prime is $119 a year. That breaks down to a little less than $10 a month. Obviously, Prime comes with free shipping and whatnot. Obviously, right now it's a little bit off, but other perks as well. Something else I was really fascinated to discover, which I had no idea, that Amazon has an Amazon Prime student rate, which is $6.49 a year, and right now has a 6-month free trial period. From what I read, it's all the perks of Amazon Prime, but specifically for students at a discounted price. So just Google Amazon Prime student, and you can find a lot of information on that. You've got Disney Plus, which Becca and Craig, not sure if you've got that, but I imagine that's keeping Lola very occupied. It's a great channel. Disney Plus by itself is $6.99. They have a package right now where you can get Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus for $12.99 a month. That's Disney Plus. The Amazing and Wonderful Criterion Collection. Right now they've got a 14-day trial, and then it's $10.99 a month, or a discounted $99.99 a year. Well worth it for film lovers. An incredible assortment of films there, and they change them up pretty frequently. They do double features. They have interviews and a lot of the extras that you might find on a Blu-ray along with the film. It's a pretty great channel. Hulu is $5.99 a month with ads, $11.99 a month without ads. And it gets, again, there's that package to get Hulu, Disney, and ESPN Plus for $12.99. They also have Hulu plus Live TV, which offers 60 plus channels live and on demand, plus unlimited access, obviously, to Hulu. And finally, I think I've got a movie that's on HBO Go on my list. That's $14.99 a month with a 7-day trial. So that is what's out there. Obviously, there are other streaming channels out there, but those are the channels that represent all the films that we'll be talking about. Do you have Disney Plus?
Yes.
Yeah? And
Good.
keeping you pretty busy?
Yeah, I mean, we did The Mandalorian.
Yeah. And there's a lot of fun live action Disney content on there.
Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, all these goofy Kurt Russell ones.
The Straight Story just got on there.
Yeah. So David Lynch on Disney Plus, folks.
Yes.
And honestly, you've seen The Straight Story, right?
Yes.
It's a great film. I mean, it's not your typical Lynch film, obviously, but it's pretty great, and it is G-rated. It is a G-rated David Lynch movie. Didn't get that much. I mean, beyond the fact that it was a G-rated David Lynch movie, didn't get not talked about very often, but it also wasn't that accessible. So it's great to be able to catch it on Disney Plus. So let's jump into our movie, shall we? Basically, the idea for this is 10 films that you can watch with the entire family, and obviously that ranges in terms of ages. There's the younger set, et cetera, et cetera. But we were really fast and loose on what the parameters were for this, and we just asked. I asked Craig and Becca'Lise to put a list of 10. I put a list together of 10, and we're going to share those. Yours are not in any particular order, is that right?
Not really.
Okay, nor are mine.
One of mine, one of hers, one of. That's pretty much how it went.
We're very organized.
Okay, that's good. All right, cool. So you guys, so it's back and forth. Okay, so you can tell me whose is whose. So let's start with your number 10.
Destroy All Monsters. Ishiro Honda. Yeah. Ishiro Honda's 1968 Godzilla film. When Lola was real little, about like 2, I like, her moods are kind of all over the, like she's kind of little monster. I wonder if she would get if there'd be any sort of catharsis out of, watching stuff get smashed. So I showed her a few Godzilla films when she was like that age, and the one she took to most was Mothra versus Godzilla. Because I think there was relatable content, and there were babies, and a mommy and stuff like that. And then about almost a year ago, like last summer, for some reason I was watching, I was just flipping through the Criterion channel, and I saw that they had uploaded a bunch of the Godzilla movies on there. And I'm like, I've never seen, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And so I was, we were at her mom's, and I put it on my phone, and Lola's like, "Zoom over here. What is this? What are we watching?" And we watched like about half of it there on the phone, and then a couple days later finished it. And next thing I know, she calls him Zilla, like my Zilla, and really just loves Godzilla. She's now seen. I got the Criterion box of the 15 films of the Showa era of Godzilla. She's watched, I think, 8, maybe 9 of them. Well, because not everything in the box has dubbed, because we watched them dubbed. But then, like, I really wanted to watch Godzilla versus Hedorah, the smog monster, and that one wasn't dubbed. But I'm like, she's hooked enough on Godzilla, so we'll watch it. And she watched it fine. I picked Destroy All Monsters just because it's got the most monster bang for your buck. We showed it at Lola's 4th birthday was Godzilla themed, and we showed it at that party. She had some of her little cousins there. They really gravitated towards it, thought it was like, oh, it's like live action Pokemon, I wanted maybe to use Son of Godzilla because Lola has really gravitated on Manila, the baby Godzilla. And, as I said, we adopted Lola, and that's kind of an adoption story because it's Godzilla finds this stray egg that hatches, and he takes Manila under his wing and kind of shows him the ropes of Monster Island. So in a sense, it is an adoption story as well. And so, yeah, she really likes Manila, and Manila is in Destroy All Monsters. So there you go.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a great one. And it's interesting, as I was putting together my list, I was thinking about, everyone has a different approach to parenting and what is quote unquote appropriate for their kid. And I having run the Zombie Walk in Long Beach, we would get that question a lot. Is this event okay for kids? And I would always answer the same way. It depends on your kid. It depends on whether, one child has a all-out panic attack at seeing people in zombie makeup, whereas the next child may as well be at the circus and just loses their mind, has a blast. And adults are the same way. I've seen adults freak out at horror events, and I've seen other adults just love it. So, yeah, it's great to include a monster movie in there and start off with that because, and again, I'll preface this by whoever's watching that your child, what they can and can't tolerate, but that's a great pick, and that's a lot of fun. I admittedly have to catch up on my Godzilla films. I've seen a few, but and that is on Criterion, correct?
Yes, Criterion.
So my number 10, which is also on Criterion, is Jason and the Argonauts. Fantastic film. Based on Greek mythology, about as faithful to Greek mythology as any Clash of the Titan film to come after it. It is not a very faithful film, but obviously the characters are there, and you've got Hera and Zeus, and basically it's this gorgeous film from 1963. It's rated G, directed by Don Chaffee. Again, it's on Criterion, and it's an independent film, which is pretty remarkable. It is technically an independent film, beautifully visually striking, shot on Eastman color, and of course made in collaboration with the great Ray Harryhausen, who became a cult hero across his career, but certainly off this film alone. When he was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Oscar, Tom Hanks said, and I'll quote, "Some people say Casablanca or Citizen Kane. I say Jason and the Argonauts is the greatest film ever made." Not quite there, but it's pretty fantastic. Empire Magazine referred to Talos as the second greatest monster from a movie ever, after King Kong. It's got that iconic skeleton fight scene that's been referenced in everything from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, to Army of Darkness, to what's that?
I just said Army of Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great film. Obviously, it's going to have some scarier moments for the little ones, but it's one of those films I think that a revisit is great with a family because I'm sure it would provide some nostalgia for people to revisit it, and then also just a lot of whimsy and wonder for the younger set. So just a great film, Jason and the Argonauts.
I just
Your what's
I
that?
love Clash of the Titans. I haven't seen Jason the Argonauts. I've seen clips,
Yeah,
but I loved Clash of the Titans when I was little.
the
So yeah,
original.
yeah,
Yes.
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 The
She was-
remake is so cruel because I was excited to see my gold owl. You know, it's all about the gold owl, right? In Clash of the Titans, we grew up on that gold owl. What? Craig is shaking his head. He hates the gold owl. Is it like
No, I'm incensed over the erasure of Gold Owl.
No, they include it and they insult it.
Yeah, they like it's a joke.
Yeah, it's like sitting on a shelf somewhere, and he's like, or something like that. And I'm like, okay, don't include it if you don't want to, but don't mock the gold owl.
Yeah.
You know, I will readily admit I love the gold owl. It's, you know, I'm not an Ewok hater. You know, I love the little things that are thrown in. I was a kid when Clash of the Titans came out. I was 6, so you know, gold owl was fun. But the remakes, you know, big budget. But I mean, it's funny because the remakes obviously a lot of budget went into them. But there's something pure about the effects of a movie like Jason and the Argonauts that didn't have the budget. That's all stop motion. You know, when combined with that cinematography, there's something pure about it that almost makes it more dazzling than all the CGI in the world. And I think, you know, I would imagine that being able to get the younger set in front of films like that had practical effects, when that's the world to them, that's cinema. They can appreciate that texture and they can appreciate that level of effects before they're just fed modern CGI work and then shown an old film, and there's that disconnect of, oh my god, this looks horrible, because that is new to them. I love that we're showing them Godzilla, and you know, original Godzilla, not Emmerich Godzilla, and films like Jason and the Argonauts this young. So talk to us about your number 9.
Our number 9, or my number 9, is
Boo-boo. Oh, yes, thank you, Alex. The owls, was it Boo-boo or Buboo? I can't remember. It's been a while. I'm sure you'll chime in. That's right. Thank you, Alex. All right, sorry. Your number 9.
Okay. My number 9 is Monsieur Hulot's Holiday by Jacques Tati from 1953. Checking my notes.
Yeah.
This is actually a recent watch for me, very recent. It's in French, but there's not really a plot. There's not a lot of important dialogue. It's very visual. It's about a man who vacations at the beach, and it's a lot of visual gags, funny sound effects. You know, he tends to, this character that Tati plays, Monsieur Hulot, he kind of just like accidentally screws things up wherever he goes. So it's almost like a live action cartoon in a way. We put it on for Lola recently just to see like what she'd make of it. She really liked it. She was completely engaged the whole time. Tati is now known as the silly man in our house.
Nice.
On her own requested more silly man movies.
Mm-hmm.
So we've watched 3 of his films now. But I picked this one because it's the shortest. It's the least demanding of a little one's attention. Like I said, like she's 4 and she was just like she was so into it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just, you know, he's watching these people at the beach and they're being funny over here, looking at shells, and this guy, you know, is in the restaurant and, you know, he reaches over and wipes his face with his sleeve. It's just like a lot of silly little jokes, and I think it's a good gateway into, you know, not princess movies, you know. I think it's important for kids to see people from other places and other times not recreated. Like this is what this looked like there in 1953. You know, she watched it. We just took a gamble and she was really into it. I loved it. So yeah, I think it's my artsy fartsy pick,
Yeah.
but you know, it went over really well, and she loved the other 2 Tati movies we watched. This one's on the Criterion Channel, along with some other movies. But yeah, she really liked it. I loved it. She wants more.
Yeah.
Like, let's find more. She's asking for it. Anything to not watch Frozen.
Oh yes, yeah.
Again, no. Frozen's fine. But we have a kind of a rule in our house, an unspoken rule where we don't do the whole movie on repeat forever thing. She's like, I want to watch this. I'm like, we watched that recently. Let's watch something else. So we're constantly changing it up, and I was just really delighted with how much she enjoyed this one. So
right on.
Get on in there and see.
Yeah, we tomorrow for Easter, she's gonna get Ryan Gallagher from Criterion Cast turned me on to these like children's books of Tati. They're silent, like it's not even like there's not even a text to read to. They're all visual, but they're like cartoony, just illustrations of Hugo.
Oh, very cool.
And so she's going to get those tomorrow, and we'll see how she reacts. But I'm imagining she'll...
Silly Man book.
Yeah, Silly Man books. Yeah.
Nova Zembla 313 on our chat writes, Jason and the Argonauts. My kids love Jason and the Argonauts, and Jason and the Argonauts is the ancient Greek equivalent of the Avengers.
It's my cousin Jennifer.
Oh, is that right? Hey, cousin Jennifer. Yeah, it's a pretty cool movie. So Tati, I have to, and it's funny because, and I'm sure you both hear this a lot, this idea of like, oh, Craig and Becca, they've seen everything. They're our friends who've seen every movie, and you're like, no, I haven't. Craig's like, well, I might have, but I grew up. It's weird looking back because. I've seen a lot of films, but I readily acknowledge that for whatever reason, I did not, for a while, go much earlier than like the mid-50s, maybe even early 60s. When I first started watching films, I was really, really fascinated with watching contemporary, independent, and avant-garde, culty, foreign films. And then started to go back and saw a lot of 70s films and 60s films. So there's a lot of sort of genres and filmmakers that I have to catch up with, and I admittedly have not seen any Tati. And when I volunteered at the American Cinematheque, they had, I think, 2 years that I was there at Tati Festival, and packed. I mean, the audience was packed. People were dressed up as characters. I mean, there was love there. And so, again, Criterion Collection, a Criterion Channel, amazing resource to catch up on things like that. I've got homework. Obviously, I've got time. So definitely something on my agenda to catch up with Tati's film. I think there's like a trilogy, right? Or like a set of the...
Well, they put out a box of the complete Tati. Yeah, like Jeux de Fête, Poulos Holiday, Mon Oncle, Playtime, Traffic.
That's and I think those are all on the channel, so
they're
I
all
can check
on
them out.
But yeah, I really want to take her once theaters are a thing again. Take her, especially like Playtime, the most recent one that we watched. It's so big and it all plays out in wide shot, and there's so many little gags like that. We recently got like a bigger TV that we got a 55-inch, and so like I was noticing gags that I hadn't seen on our older TV, and I just imagine on a screen that big you'll see it even more, and it's it'll be grand and make things special for her.
Very cool. So I know we're running a little bit behind, so what I'm going to do is kind of talk quickly through mine. I am quite frankly more interested in hearing yours. So take your time on yours. I will just kind of go through mine quickly. My number 9 is Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is beautiful, beautiful animated film. It is currently on Netflix. It has echoes of Harry Potter in it, but it really is its own story. And it's just visually gorgeous. It's one of those movies where there is just so much to behold in every frame in terms of how color is used, how just whimsical and mesmerizing and really breathtakingly gorgeous it is. But what's really striking about this particular movie, and I don't say this much with animation and anime in particular, is it is one of the rare anime movies where the English dub really nails it. I'm generally very, very anti-dub. I'm all about subtitles. We at the Frida, when we would program anime and foreign animated films, we almost always are exclusively subtitled, except for matinees, where we will offer the dubs for the younger set who can't read subtitles yet, or for folks who for whatever reason can't read subtitles or don't want to read subtitles. We'll do maybe 1 or 2 screenings of the dubbed. And generally when there's kids involved, there's this like hyper precociousness to the child actors that make that kind of lose the stakes of the film. It kind of makes the story less palpable. Not with this one. It's got Kate Winslet as a voice, but it's got this incredible voice performance by Jim Broadbent, who just comes off like he was born to do this sort of thing. He's like one of those voices. Like I was thinking about Derek Jacobi in Secret of Nim, or really Dom DeLuise in anything animated, where you could tell they really love their character and they're invested and they want to make the character feel real. I really loved it. There's plenty for kids and adults alike in this movie. Just a great adventure, beautifully animated. So that's mine. So talk to us about your number 8.
All right, so it's back to me. I'm doing the Spike Jonze Where the Wild Things Are.
Nice.
From 2009. I remember when it came out, like I knew a lot of people that were hyped for it, and then a lot of people that wasn't really like the book. Well, I mean, the book is kind of like, a giant party, like you got to have a little more than just, a wild rumpus. And I think that the film really got at, sort of the melancholy of childhood and of, people who, maybe grew up with that book. But what I really responded to most, and why I showed it to Lola about, probably a year ago, was that it's sort of like a live action version of Pixar's Inside Out, because you got the different wild things are different emotions or different, articulations of things that Max is going through. And it's never like explicitly stated, like in the Pixar movie where I'm sadness, I'm da-da-da. But, like if you're really watching it, you can, pick up on like echoes of, earlier things. And I think it trusts kids to pick up on that without spoon feeding them. And it's just really beautiful. The Jim Henson creature suits with CG faces, and I believe Lance Accord photography, kind of a handheld aesthetic that's not something you really associate with those type of films. And so blew me away and gets me all teary-eyed at the end.
Seamless. The costumes to the faces is pretty cool. They did a better job with it than Cats. Trying to do something similar. Okay, we made it 43 minutes before we knocked Cats. I'm proud of that. All right, my number 8, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or as Netflix calls it, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, because Lucas and Spielberg doing their going back thing. What can I say about Raiders? It hasn't been said a million times. It's just such a great adventure. It's a thrill to watch. It's a great revisit. I think that, I did include some films in here that I think people go, well, yeah, of course, but sometimes we forget, it's been years since you go back and watch a film, or we think, I don't quite remember if this is one I can watch with the kids. Again, it depends on the kids and the age, but, it's got some scary moments, but it's a thrilling film. It's just a great adventure. I watched it as a kid. I think I turned out okay. Just a great film, and led to what I think is a fantastic part 2. I'll stand by that. But there we go. I'm a huge Temple of Doom defender. It might be my favorite of the 3. I just don't know that one's the one for the family. I'll say that much. So talk to us about your number 7.
My number 7 is another foreign movie. So I'm doing real artsy fartsy up in here. It's a movie called A Town Called Panic, from 2009. It is bananas. It is a stop motion animated film about the characters are horse, cowboy, and Indian. And it seriously looks like some hyper kid is just playing with their action figures.
Oh, nice.
And it's got such a manic energy. It's like cowboy and Indian want to buy some bricks to make horse I think a barbecue or something for a present. They accidentally ordered 50 million bricks, and they end up there's creatures. They go to the center of the earth. I would recommend it for proficient readers as far as kids go, because unlike Poulos Holiday, where you don't really need the dialogue in there, it's mostly visual. This one is very much enhanced by the wacky dialogue. I don't know if there's an English dub, but is there? I don't know, but it's very funny. It's very funny. It's very crazy. Not a lot of people have seen it. It's not very long. It's just like cuckoo. It's such a crazy, silly movie. That one's on Amazon Prime and Canopy, which is free through your library if it participates. But I recommend it. It is a wacky little movie.
Right on. Not one I've seen, so definitely one I'll check out.
Yes, please.
We got what was it? Cousin? No,
Jennifer.
Nova Zembla.
Yeah. I'd forgotten how scary Temple of Doom was. You know, Temple of Doom, again, for those of you who don't know, rated PG. And one of those films that made folks kind of take a second look at our rating system. You know, it was Temple of Doom, Poltergeist, Gremlins. These movies were PG, and I think Temple of Doom was the one that sort of pushed everything over the edge with a lot of the sequences that we all know and love. My number 7, I included not just because it's one of my, like, there's 2 films on here that I not only love but are sort of like my pleasant surprise movies. My number 7 is Mary Poppins Returns. I love the original Mary Poppins. I grew up on the original Mary Poppins. It's got a very specific sad magic to it. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know kind of what I'm trying to get across, but it's a beautiful film that has a very specific mood that it sets, at least for me, that I remember when I heard there was a sequel coming out, I was utterly convinced there's no way they're going to be able to recapture that, and they're probably not even going to try. I'm not going to watch it. And it's on a list of films that I wish I had seen in the movie theaters when they came out, because by the time I saw it at home, I was just blown away. Some of the critics that went after it, it wasn't like exceptionally reviewed. It was like, I think, like has like a 79 or something like that. But if you read the critics that didn't like it, their general consensus is it's too much of a throwback to the original. And for me, it's like, that's great, because that's what I was. Yeah, I mean, the original is fantastic, and you know, it's not a remake in any way. It doesn't feel like a rehash, but it does have a lot of moments that recall the original, recall moments in the original, recall characters in the original, little nuances that people who love the film remember or you know, and that it'll just touch on and acknowledge. And it feels like a movie that was made by people who really, really love the original and wanted to be reverent to it. And the whole time I saw it, I had this big, I always think of like the South Park triangle smile, that big perma smile that they get when they're really overjoyed. I had the big, when I wasn't crying my eyes out, I had the big South Park smile on me. So I highly recommend Mary Poppins Returns. If you're a fan of the original, don't be afraid of this particular sequel. It's great. It's visually incredible. Obviously, the effects are great. But the music's great. I mean, it's just a great film. You can't obviously touch Julie Andrews. I don't think Emily Blunt tries. She kind of makes it her own. But she's great. She brings the cockiness. You know, she brings the mischief to it. I thought it was great. Have you guys had a chance to check it out?
We saw it at the drive-in.
Yeah, we took Lola to see it at the drive-in, which was how we got out of the house in those early days before she was well behaved enough for proper movie theater. Yeah.
I know not everyone loved it. I know a lot of people didn't feel, but what did you think of it?
The mistake that I made, I love Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
And I watched them back to back. So I don't think that was the best way to do that.
Sure.
Because, yeah, I couldn't turn my comparison brain off.
Right.
I might watch it again in the future and kind of give it another go. But I was like, It's okay. It's all right. And I even think Lola seemed more engaged with the original one that we'd watched the night before.
Well,
but he's a baby, so it's hard to say. But no, I liked elements of it, and I think I need to do a revisit because, yeah, whenever I watch things that close together, I'm just like,
Yeah.
no, I really love Mary Poppins.
Oh yeah, that original is just it's an incredible film, and like I said, there's something really sad about it, but I just love it.
It's profoundly sad. That whole sequence when Mr. Banks is walking back to the bank at the end, and they're playing the Feed the Birds theme in the score, and I'm just like, it's so good.
And maybe that's what I liked about the second one is I felt like it really understood that so much of the first one is about Mr. Banks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That it's, you got the cute kids and you got the magical nanny, but Mr. Banks is the soul of that film, and that was obviously talked about in Saving Mr. Banks and everything. But his presence is felt throughout the sequel, which I really appreciated as well. Talk to us about your number 6.
So okay, it's me.
It's you.
Martin Scorsese's Hugo from 2011. We saw it in 3D when it was in theaters, but it still
in an almost empty theater, by the way.
Yeah. But I've seen it at least 2, maybe 3 times since, and not in 3D, and it's still it's like, if you didn't see it in 3D, it was very nice in 3D, but it'll work perfectly fine on Netflix from your home. But yeah, I just I'm a Scorsese lover, of course. But then I think it's a good way to get kids into cinema, the machinery of cinema, the history of cinema, but with there's an adventure story. It's you got Orphan Boy and all the stuff of a kid's film, but buried in, well, not even buried in there, right? They're in the text. All the Méliès footage, and how films were made, and how films were burned and turned into silver for the silver content, and just I think it's important to help breed little cinephiles.
And I think some of Méliès films are on Criterion too, right? So you can
maybe.
I'm not sure, but they're not that hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, you can find them on
probably
YouTube because it's all public domain. It's ancient.
True. Right on.
But yeah, we have a box set of early cinema. There's a whole disc of Méliès, but they got the Lumiere stuff. And have we shown Lola much of that? Not that I can recall really.
She'd like it.
Yeah.
Any other Martin Scorsese films that you would put on this list?
On this list? Maybe later on Kundun.
Maybe, yeah. Right on. Okay. My number 6 is Jonathan Lynn's 1985 classic Clue. It's one of those films that is an I know it's a weird pick. It's rated PG. It's from 85, and some families have that darker kid, that likes costumes, that likes darkness, that likes double entendres, that likes a little bit of naughty with their films, and it's a PG film. There's nothing in Clue that is over the top sexual. There's no real violence in Clue. As a matter of fact, I would say Raiders of the Lost Ark is 10 times more violent than Clue would ever be. But it's such a fun and cheeky film. The jokes are corny intentionally, but just delivered with gutso by this amazing cast. You've got Tim Curry, Madeline Kahn, Eileen Brennan, Christopher Lloyd, Michael McKean, Martin Mull, Leslie Ann Warren as the characters, and weird little cameo by Jane Weedland of the Go-Go's. Clue is fantastic. I loved it as a kid like crazy. It's quotable. Kids love quotes. They just love their funny quotes. And there is just something cheeky and fun and sort of capery about Clue that when I was looking around at films that were streaming, I just saw it and just threw it on my list and thought, you know, I know as a kid I really appreciated it. I know that when we play Clue at the Frida, we get a lot of folks to come out and talk about how it was one of their favorite movies as a kid. So I would love the idea of passing that on to the next generation of kids, getting them started early on funny films like Clue. Any feedback on Clue? You guys fans or?
Well, no, I'm very much a fan.
Yes.
Yeah, Clue.
The flames on the side of my face is so applicable. Every news story, I'm just like, gift, flames.
Flames. Yeah, it's just a great one.
I just love it.
And that to me is the highlight of that film. That moment. I mean, yeah, Madeline Kahn just steals that movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what do you got next?
That's me. I'm really glad you included Raiders because I love the Indiana Jones movies, but they are not on my list. But I do have The Adventures of Tintin from 2011, which to me is like Indiana Jones light. It's very much in that same vein that has very much the same spirit of Indiana Jones. It's a quest. It's traveling around the world, chasing the thing, and it's it's got, we have Tintin and his dog Snowy, and then there's Captain Haddock. Is it his name?
Mm-hmm.
Haddock.
Like the fish.
Great voice performance by Andy Serkis. It's really fun. It's got a great John Williams score. It's very underrated. I don't feel like it's talked about as much as it should be, but it looks great. I love it. It's fun. I remember when we saw it in theaters, there was a little boy sitting behind me going, "It's Tintin, Mommy, it's the Tintin!" Like shrieking with delight the entire time. But yeah, it's fun. It's Indiana Jones without the face melting. Just sort of push them into that adventure around the globe thing.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Mm-hmm. I love it. It's fun. I remember when we saw it in theaters, there was a little boy sitting behind me going, "It's Tintin!" Like shrieking with delight the entire time. But yeah, it's fun. It's Indiana Jones without the face melting. Just sort of push them into that adventure around the globe thing. It's a good one. Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. I just found out we weren't getting audio. I appreciate it, Alex and Brendan. Penelope Spheres' Little Rascals. I am not repeating all of that. Watch Little Rascals. Thank you for chiming in. It's just great. I was just saying the one thing, the cast of kids that Penelope Spheres found for this movie are just incredible. They're all hilarious. They're all little comedians that own every scene they're in. Stick around for the closing credits, for the bloopers. It's just hilarious. Fun for family, fun for parents, fun for kids. What's
I haven't
next
seen
for you?
it since I was a kid, since probably
I
95.
haven't seen it.
No, I saw it in
my
like
gosh.
1995, probably not in theaters, but like probably the week it came out on VHS.
There's a really cute reunion video floating around from
yeah?
recently. We got them all back together. It's super cute.
The one thing I was saying too before with the mood, sorry about that, is that you can watch a lot of original Little Rascals on YouTube too to introduce the family to the original shorts. So Giselle says, "I got me a pickle. I got me a pickle. I got me a pickle. Hey. Yeah, absolutely. Great quotables in this Penelope Spheres film, now available on Hulu. Lots of them. Great cameos too. What is your number 4? This is a great pick, by the way.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Okay. So next up is Jonathan Demme's Talking Heads concert film, Stop Making Sense. My opinion, the greatest concert film of all time, because like there's actually structure and an idea to it. It's not just like, oh, we put up like some cameras and recorded a performance, which is its own great thing, but just the whole evolution of it from bare stage with David Byrne and a guitar and a boombox, and then you throw in Tina Weymouth comes out with the bass, and then you do Heaven, and so you're watching the show be built. And so for like a kid, it's like, oh, so that's the bass, and then in come the drums, and it's this project, it's being constructed. And then Lola is very into dance, and so once the show is really going, she's dancing along, or when they're running during wartime, she's running along too. But when David Byrne was on SNL recently, we were watching like the clips the morning after, and she was like, "Oh, what is this?" And then I'm like, "Okay, so maybe it's finally let's bust out." And I had already been playing, Talking Heads around her a lot. I got video of her boogieing down to the wildlife sequence from True Stories. She really liked that. That was like one of her jams for about a month, a year ago or so. But yeah, just great music, well made, and it's get some cardio in.
Well, and it shows artists having fun. I mean, there is joy in that movie like you seldom see in a concert film or documentary. It's just people having an amazing time putting art together. It's fantastic. And then Tom Tom Club's performance, which is just for me one of the highlights. I mean, the whole film is just so inventive, and I thought it was a great pick when I saw it on your list. I'm like, that's great. Just introduce them to film and really show musicians, having the time of their life. Have you shown her David Byrne's Space Ghost interviews?
No, I'll have to look into
YouTube,
that.
Space Ghost, David Byrne. They're kind of a blast.
Nice.
My next pick is my one PG-13 pick on here. Go with me. It is Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Just a cheeky, fun comedy with Elvira, who's amazing. And here's what Elvira and Pee Wee Herman and a lot of the Groundlings did that was so great in the 80s was they made sophisticated films that were, about adult things. Elvira is obviously a witch and, all these things. But they framed them almost like they were made for kids. There's nothing graphic in their films. Everything's a double entendre. Everything is suggested so that the adults can laugh. But at the same time, you got a funny poodle with a funny haircut, and you've got characters that are acting like children. And it's almost like I grew up on a comedian on Spanish language television. Who played a character named El Chavo del Ocho, and it was an apartment full of adults who acted like children. And I always loved and responded to that sort of aesthetic in films. I love that about John Waters movies, this sort of turning up the pettiness and the childishness in people. And Elvira is just this very fun story in the same vein that like a Hocus Pocus might be, about witchcraft and about some darker things, but told in a light way. And it's also, frankly, kind of a cool take down the establishment story, which always a good thing. But I love Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I think it's a great film. I know that this kid personally loved seeing it as a kid. I loved Elvira. I loved horror stuff. And again, it's PG-13, I think, because of the double entendre. Obviously, anyone that knows the shows knows there's a lot of reference to her physique. But it's always self-aware. She's usually the one making the references about herself and owning it, which I think there's something to be said about that. Just a huge fan. So that's my number 4. What is yours?
Nice. Mine is 1944's Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yes.
I like musicals. My child likes musicals. I think everybody can find a musical that they like. I like this one because it's about a family, which I think kids can relate to. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's a wide range of emotions there. It's about a family who is very settled and content in their lives, and then the father announces that, "Hey, we're moving to New York because I got a job," and they're kind of trying to process, leaving everything behind. This is the movie that brought us "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," which is just devastating and beautiful. And then the character of Tootie, who's the littlest sister, she's hilarious and dark and just has this really dark little sense of humor. She sings about getting drunk in one scene, and yeah. Drunk last night, your mother. Yeah, it's just that it's a solid year at least of the seasons change. Here's what the family's going through. Judy Garland is in love with the boy next door, and it's Little Women-y in a way. But yeah, it's got lots of good songs, and it's really heartwarming, and I love it a lot, and I think everyone should watch it.
Yep.
That one you have to buy. You have to buy that one. That's like $3. It's fine. Seasons change. Here's what the family's going through. Judy Garland is in love with the boy next door, and it's
Right.
Little Women-y in a way. But yeah, it's got lots of good songs, and it's really heartwarming, and I love it a lot, and I think everyone should watch it.
Yep.
You have to buy that one. So much cats. It's fine.
No,
No, I'm saying so much cats. Although I will say the VHS performance, whatever that they have of cats from like the 90s,
Yeah.
so much fun. I watched that movie to death as a kid, and Lola likes it, and it's actual like dancers with their actual human bodies wearing costumes and dancing because they're dancers, and they're not weirdly tiny or tall, or yeah.
Sorry,
It's
folks.
an-
I understand I was muted again. I'm trying to figure out the echo situation, but we're almost to the end, so I'm just going to stop doing what I was trying to do, and we'll press on. What I was saying when I jumped, what's that?
Nothing.
When I jumped in earlier was I was answering Leia's question. Yeah, so Meet Me in St. Louis is rentable. It's $3.99 on Amazon Prime. Stop Making Sense is on Amazon Prime and Criterion Channel. Tintin's on Netflix. And then for mine, Elvira and Little Rascals are both on Hulu. So my number 3 is The Last Unicorn. It is from 1982. It's rated G. It's a Rankin Bass film. It's directed by Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass. It is on HBO Go. Just a really lush, based on a novel by Peter S. Beagle story, fantasy film with a voice cast that includes Mia Farrow, Jeff Bridges, the great Christopher Lee. And it's got a lot of magic in it. It's very sort of a floral forest sort of vibe to it. Feels a little bit like the old animated The Hobbit in that sort of style. Again, Rankin Bass, but it's got this soundtrack by America, the band America. It's got these songs that are just so incredible. It's probably my favorite soundtrack to a animated film, next to I would say Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, which unfortunately you can't find anywhere. Can't find that soundtrack anywhere. But just a great film. Can't say much about The Last Unicorn that hasn't been said. We had a screening at the Frida where the author of the book, Peter S. Beagle, came out to sign autographs, and it was packed. People were dressed as unicorns. We ended up encoring it the next day or later on that afternoon. I don't remember, but one of those films that I thought was like my own little weird cult classic and then come to find out people really love and it has a following around it.
Mm-hmm.
So, including Leia Duffy, who was there at the screening with Peter and says it's one of her favorites as a child. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic film. Speaking of musicals, give us your next one.
Okay, so also in the musical vein, very much so. West Side Story. So like early on, I before we were really showing Lola like feature length films, I would bring up YouTube clips, and she responded so much to music and like dancing and stuff. So I would find clips from musicals. I think something about like the Technicolor really catches the eye, and then the music and the dancing. And so I would show her particularly like stuff from Sound of the Music, but also like the Mambo number from Story. And then last year for Leonard Bernstein's Centennial, right? Becca showed her the full movie. Well, Becca just kind of had it on, not like sit her down, like you're going to watch this, but, Becca wanted to watch it, and Lola happened to be around, and Lola was just transfixed. Like,
I don't think she moved the whole time, except when, stabbings happened. I was like, oh, shoot. She's like, what happened? I'm like, he hurt him anyway. Next scene. Let's move on. But she loved it. She was completely transfixed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great movie.
Yeah. And a sort of offshoot on that, something else we also showed her was Jerome Robbins, the co-director and choreographer of West Side Story. He was a choreographer, and there was a piece he did. It was called New York Export Opus Jazz. It was a dance number. It was called the Sneaker Ballet, because the dancers were like wearing street clothes and like Chuck Taylors, and a few filmmakers went and they actually staged it with dancers out in real locations about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they made a movie, and that's on Prime.
Right on.
And we've also shown her that, and she really dug that as well.
Have you shown her Oliver?
Not yet.
That movie traumatized me as a child. I find the last 7 minutes of that film, right now when you said stabbing, I had a visceral reaction because I put musical and stabbing in my head together. I'm still getting over something that happens at the end of that film. So just FYI, maybe not one to show her unless you want to traumatize her, because that's a stabbing. Great pick, and I guess Steven Spielberg's remaking it too, right?
West Side, and due to come out this year? Question mark.
Yeah.
Every movie going is up in the air. But
also to the chat, I'm having a blast. Thank you, and we're almost done. But while we're still on, and while you're chatting, I would love to have you back on. I'm having fun with this list. Think about any other lists you love Craig and Becca to work on, and myself in terms of their favorite.
Give us an assignment.
Yeah, give them an assignment. We're having a blast. Would love to hear what you'd love to see. Nova Zembla said she just watched Oliver 2 weeks ago. Right? The ending of that movie is just so cruel, but I guess that's how the book ends. So what are you going to do? I hate bull terriers because of Oliver. Yeah.
My mom does too. If she ever sees a bull terrier, she's like, I hate those dogs because of Oliver. No, I'm sorry.
Top 10 date films. I like that. Okay, so my number 2, this movie blew me away. My number 2 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse from 2018, rated PG, directed by Bob Persichetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. It's on Netflix. I was a late arrival to this one. My friends kept raving about it. I was Spider-Man cartoon. I didn't grow up on comics. I didn't have that deeper connection to these characters and comic book heroes. But I was really intrigued as more and more people were talking about it. I was intrigued that it had a 97% Rotten Tomato rating. I was intrigued that leading up to the Oscars, it was the nominee that had the highest tomato rating, along with 2 Disney films and Isle of Dogs, which I loved, and Mirai. So I finally got around to seeing it, and it is another film that I was so upset with myself for not having seen on the big screen that I programmed it at the Frida, I think 2 weeks after I watched it at home, just to see it on the big screen. And we had a huge audience, even though the film had been out at that point for like 6 months. just an incredible motion picture. I could not recommend it enough. I spent a good 2 months telling everyone I knew of any age, you've got to watch this film. Don't let the Spider-Man part of it scare you away. Don't let the cartoon part of it or the Sony animation, whatever it is that's kept you from watching this movie and that has made you decide you kind of have an idea of what it's going to feel like and look like and be. Watch it. It is so good. It is so entertaining. It took my breath away visually. Sonically, the aesthetics of this film are I felt watching it the way I would imagine people felt the same the first time they saw 2001 or the first time they saw Star Wars. That was me watching this movie. Like, my jaw was on the floor. It was just, and on top of that, the narrative is incredible. The comedy works. The characters are palpable, and the stakes are real. It's just an incredible film. I can't say enough about it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is just an incredible film. I think it's a masterpiece. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I gush about that movie. I think it's phenomenal. Nova Zilla said it was her top overall film in 18. It may have been my favorite film of 18 as well.
Yeah, I think we saw Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and The Favorite.
Yep.
Like back to back. We had like
Oh wow.
someone to watch Lola, and we're like, let's do this.
Knock out 2 movies that
Yeah, they're very different, but both excellent. One is not appropriate for children
No.
at all.
No.
You can get
So I can think of someone who's watching who's going to be very, very happy with your number one pick for the greatest. Again, although your picks are not in order, I respect that.
It's my greatest.
This is your number one? Tell us about your number one film. Oh, where can we find Spider-Verse? Spider-Verse is on Netflix. You can watch it on Netflix. Definitely recommend it. What is your number one film to stream with the whole family?
My number one, I love this film dearly. It is very important to me. Is 1995's A Little Princess. This film is just magical. It's about a little girl who is raised in India, but she's white, and then she goes to boarding school when her father goes off to war, and she's very imaginative. She tells these stories. Some of the other girls don't like her, but she's just so charismatic and special, and butts heads with the headmistress there. But it's a great book, but very different from the book. But yes, specifically this version. There's a Shirley Temple version that's cute, but this one is it's visually beautiful. It's so beautiful. The score is beautiful. We actually walked down the aisle when I got married to the song from this movie. Yeah, it's just really, you cry at the end. It's so special. And this one's on Netflix. I'm really happy that it's streaming because I want everybody to watch it because it's so good. I have nothing but praise for it. It's Alfonso Cuarón.
Yep.
I always forget that. I'm like, oh, that's right. This was him. Yeah, just it's such strong style. It's the colors, and it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Articulating well. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's magical. It's beautiful. I love this movie. Truly.
What it does with the color green is just, I mean, it's up there with Amelie in terms of what Amelie does with the color green and red. Just that opening shot when she's in her fantasy telling the story. And
that Ramayana.
It's just, yeah, it's a great film. Giselle, by the way, my sister, founding board member, guessed that it was a little princess before you said it, only by my saying someone's, yeah. And I love A Little Princess so much. Bit of trivia, the lead is a multi-millionaire heiress.
Yes, Hyatt.
Yep,
I think
she's
a Hyatt heiress.
part of the Hyatt. Alex says, Christina says it should be What About Bob? I love What About Bob.
That is, okay. I love you, Christina. She will bring up What About Bob if it has anything to do with anything. She will get that movie title in there.
Pile them high and deep. No, I just love that movie. That's a good one too. I don't know that I would have include it. It would easily find its way on like another list. Maybe like movies that I find myself quoting often. What about Bob? What about Bob would be on there? Pilot High and Deep is one of my favorites. Okay, so that was your number one. Little Princess is great pick. My number one, anyone that knows me will know this is an obvious one for me. This is any list, it's gonna end up on there. This is easily my number one. I once wrote a list of I don't use the word perfect very often. I when it comes to movies. So someone said write a list of 10 perfect films, and this was number one. My number one is Pinocchio. 1940 Disney Pinocchio, rated G, directed by, here we go, Norman Ferguson, Tee-hee. That's T.H.E.E. Tee-hee. Wilfred Jackson, Jack Kinney, Hamilton Luske, Bill Roberts, and Ben Sharpstein. Pinocchio's on Disney Plus. Perfect. Just a perfect film. No, my number one's not Blue Velvet. Giselle just chimed in that my number, not this list. My God. No, Pinocchio. I adore Pinocchio. It is, when Disney Plus landed, it was the first thing I threw on. I don't know. It's just, the animation is incredible. Obviously, if you've been following along, I clearly have a thing for visuals. It's just so lushly animated, and the they revolutionized a lot of animation with this film, but really the humor of that film is so sophisticated and so funny. Jiminy Cricket, it's a really funny film. The jokes are among the most sort of like surprisingly sophisticated for a Disney film, especially a classic Disney film. There's a lot of double entendres in this movie. There is a lot of satire in this movie when it comes to acting, when it comes to entertainment industry in general. It is thrillingly entertaining. It is suspenseful. And it's short. I mean, it's just such a quick little, they pack so much. I think I don't have it, maybe 67 minutes or something like that, but they pack so much into this film. And there's a sequence where the cat, Figaro, is just crawling along the bed, Geppetto's bed, and making his way up to her way to the curtains, and the movement on this cat and the lighting on the cat is just breathtaking. It's just every moment of that film. Every frame is beautiful. I just find it really, really entertaining. So it's definitely a movie to revisit if you haven't seen Pinocchio in a while. Easily, obviously, it's a Disney cartoon, so one you can watch with the kids. But that's my number one. I can never stop talking about Pinocchio. Maybe there's a list, top 10 perfect films. Top 10 films you would think are perfect.
I had a hard enough time narrowing this.
My challenge was I really wanted to stick to films that were like streaming on a platform. So there was a lot of movies that I would have included. Huh?
I mostly did okay with that.
No, definitely. There's a lot of movies that I would have included. Like Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown will always be one of my favorite films, period. You just can't really find it. It's on YouTube. Someone put the whole thing on YouTube, but it looks terrible. Monstro is scary as heck. I agree with you, Alex. Yes. The talking cricket in the book gets killed by Pinocchio. Yes, that is true in the book. And his ghost later reappears. Patty Zone said, I loved playing Pinocchio.
Yes, that's my mom.
Okay.
That's my mom. She was a character at Disney, and she was...
Oh, wow!
Yes.
Did you do the little Pinocchio skip as you ran around, like with the books in the belt? That's fantastic. Giselle says, I nominate the original Bad News Bears. Great movie. A lot of cussing in that movie, and a couple of and a racial episode. That's what I was gonna say. It's there's a lot. You watch the Goonies, and it's surprising. There's a lot of cussing in the Goonies. There's a lot of cussing in a lot of kids' films, but there was a shocking racial epithet in Bad News Bears. I just saw the original for the first time recently, and I was like, "Whoa!" It was a little surprising. Yeah. Oh wow, you did the Pinocchio skip. That's great. I love it. Well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, should we Lola's list?
Does Lola have a list?
Alex requested.
We asked Lola what her favorite movies were.
Okay, let's hear it.
That's fine. It's really random, the ones she picked. She says Star Wars.
Okay.
No specific one.
She's only seen New Hope.
Yeah.
And she's seen it maybe 3 times, so I'm going with New Hope. Princess and the Frog.
Yes.
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Nice. Princess and the Frog actually almost made it on my list.
It's really good.
Yeah, I had it. It was one that I ended up replacing with something else, but I actually that's another one that doesn't get talked about much and is really, really good. And another one where not only the story is good, but it's gorgeous to watch and gorgeous to listen to. It's just a great film. That's a great list. Tell Lola that I really like that list. That's great.
Let her know.
So what else? Tell us, before we close, everyone, first of all, thank you. This was a lot of fun for watching. Hopefully we gave you some homework to go out and check out. Tell us, close out with something. Tell us what we need to know. What are you working on? Any tips for the quarantine? Anything you wanna share while you have our captured attention?
On Twitter, I still use the Cinematic Life Twitter account at cinematic_life, and every day throughout the quarantine, I've recommended a film on the Criterion channel to watch. Every day, one movie, hashtag Criterion Quarantine. I alternate between male and female directors every day. Today was number 31. So there's 31 films that
Excellent.
I think are watching on Criterion. So you can find those there. And I'm posting them on Facebook. And since everyone pretty much who's watching this is also a personal friend.
You've seen them.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, thank you for watching live, folks, and then we'll keep the video on our YouTube page. I would not be the executive director of a nonprofit if I didn't close by saying, and for that matter, while we are closed and sort of trying to sustain ourselves, donations are very much appreciated at this time. The best and easiest way to donate to the Frida is to text this number, 714-276-6080. Text the word film to that number. Again, text the word film to 714-276-6080. What you'll get back is a link that you can click on to make a donation of your choice in support of the Frida Cinema. The Frida Cinema is Orange County's only nonprofit art house cinema dedicated to enriching, connecting, and educating communities through the art of cinema. All donations are tax deductible, and honestly, now more than ever, are deeply appreciated. While we are closed, we have been active. We have been doing our part to make sure that we keep our outreach and our message going. And this was a perfect opportunity to do that. I'm so glad that you were excited when I pitched this idea to you. I think that was a blast. I would love to do this more often. Everyone that's on the chat knows how to reach either ourselves or the Frida. Anyone who's watching afterwards, you can go to our website, thefridacinema.org, and hit contact us to send a message if you have ideas for shows. We'd love to do more of this sort of thing, so send them along. What do you want to see? How would you like to keep connected with the Frida Cinema while we're closed? How can folks reach you? Do you want folks to reach you?
at Cinematic Life, at cinematic_life on Twitter, or you can send us Facebook requests.
We've been tagged plenty in promoting this, so that's reach me.
Yeah, we got people already off of the Frida's newsletter. People are all like, "Oh, will you watch our family-friendly movie and cover it on your blog?" Yeah, so we're reachable.
That's great. That's great. I'd love to hear it. So everyone, stay safe. Everyone that's watching, please continue to stay safe. We want you healthy. We can't wait to see you back at the Frida. We appreciate you watching. La Belle et la Bête is a must-have when there are... Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely, and that might be on Criterion. I'm not sure off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
it is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Gorgeous, original,
There's
silent.
honestly, I would recommend 100 family-friendly movies. Like, this is one of my favorite types of movies to watch. It was really hard narrowing it down, but that's a good one.
Maybe we could do it again. Maybe we could do the top 10, like the top 10 family films that you have not heard of. You know,
Yeah.
or that.
A lot of
on there.
these where, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Lola's parents.
I can
Say
do
goodnight to Lola for me. Say goodnight to Lola from her fans. Thank you very much. Thanks, folks, for watching, and stay safe out there. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Indeed. Are we still on?